Hey everyone, Dave with the Spillproof podcast. Just want to let you know we are still going to be posting our podcast episodes up on our YouTube channel, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. Instead of putting the full episode on there, what we're going to do is put small snippets of it, maybe some of the highlights, things like that. And then if you like what you heard, you can check us out where our podcast can be found. So right now, our podcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. So if you like what you heard, check us out, Spillproof Podcast. You can write to us at spillproofpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear your feedback or throw some stuff in the comments. Thanks, and thanks for listening.
It's me rewinding.
We can edit all of that out. We'll pick it up somewhere else.
Okay.
So I think that we were chatting back and forth, and then we shared our number at some point.
We didn't share our numbers until after, like, at the first date. Because we set a place and time through the app to meet.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I'm pretty sure it was July 6th or July 7th. Because it was the week of July 4th.
It was the week of July 4th. I specifically remember that.
Yeah. And we were meeting at a coffee shop,
Mm-hmm.
and there were technically two entrances to the coffee shop, and we went to different entrances. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I hope he's not standing me up. I had to message you through the app to ask where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I'm here. I was like, where? And then we both walked in a little further, and we saw each other.
Well, you had gone in, not seen me, and walked back out.
Oh,
right?
that's right. Yes.
Because
Yes.
I had picked this coffee shop has been many things, and at that exact time, it was either transitioning or it had just transitioned. And what it had done is it had separated from the restaurant that it was connected to, and I found a couch because I thought a couch would be a great place in the corner. However, when you walk through the front door, you can't see the person sitting on the couch.
You have to go like in and around the corner,
right,
to see that couch.
But it was super awkward. So I walk in. I had to tell the barista that I was there for a date. And
why did you have to tell the barista you were there for a date?
Because nobody was running the bar. Everybody was working the restaurant side. So she's like,
oh,
what do you want? I'm like, I got to wait for someone else. She's like, oh, well, come and find me. I'm like, okay. So, because I was the only one in there. I was the only one in there.
yeah.
And I specifically picked the couch out because I thought we could sit next to each other, we could talk, and you sat in the chair.
Did I?
You did.
Well, I thought because then like the chair and the couch were like kitty corner, like
They were.
at right angle, like it was at a right angle, and then we could look at each other and talk, and not like awkwardly like lounge on the couch.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing right now, looking at you.
It's been a few years.
Yeah,
We're pretty casual at this point.
I think so.
But I remember talking to someone at work, and I was like, I thought it would be funny, and I don't think I would have done it, but thought it would have been funny to like, and I told you this, I think, to have like a red balloon, and be like, I'm the one with the red balloon.
I don't know if you ever told me.
I swear I told you this.
Maybe you have, but maybe
then-
I blocked it out.
And then
because it's weird.
the girl at work I was talking with, she's like, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
the first thing that comes to mind is it.
See, I've never seen it, and my mind goes to, I think it is How I Met Your Mother,
Oh,
where there's a red balloon.
I would have been like, why is
There's a
he
yellow
trying to
umbrella,
be
which
like
everybody knows, but
Pennywise?
I think there was a red balloon there. It was either that or Scrubs. I don't remember. It
Well,
was one of those.
That was a good call that your coworker told you not to do that.
Yeah, it's a good thing we invited her to our wedding, right?
Yes. But I thought our first date went really well. We were actually there for 3 hours.
Yeah,
And
really long.
Obviously, it was the best first date I had because I went on another one. I went on another date. But I remember thinking while we were sitting there, like, oh, I really like this guy. I'm definitely going to go on another date. That's great because I don't have to figure out how to like get out of this. And I was very happy.
I remember it going really well. I remember least once running out of something to talk about. Only once, I think there was, and we were talking about the bridge on the wall because so we live close to a lift bridge, and it's I think it's one of the only ones.
It's like in the Guinness Book of World Records, or I think,
Yeah,
or it's at an angle. So
Yeah.
typically lift bridges are like flat, right? So
Yeah.
this one is at an angle and it lifts at an angle.
yeah. So it's like this big thing, and there was a model of it up on the wall, and to this day I still want to find it because it's gone now. Again, the place changed again, and
It's still like a coffee shop, but it's a new owner, and
yeah, and the decor's changed.
yeah.
And it was like this copper remake of it, and it was probably 12, not 12. It was probably
maybe
6
like
feet long.
6 feet, yeah.
I really want to get it to put it up on our wall because I think that'd be a really great centerpiece to have, and it'd
That
be
would
great
be really cool.
for us to be like, this is like what we had on our first date.
Yeah,
Because I remember running out of things to talking about, and I panicked, and I was like, oh, that bridge is interesting.
Yeah, and I'm like not like those of you who have met me, you're probably like, yeah, Becky's not the most social or outgoing person. Not that I can't be social or outgoing, but like I do.
No, you can.
Like I get awkward, or really anxious around
Definitely.
new people. So like you were definitely like leading more of the conversation.
Probably. I remember us talking about many things that date.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were literally there for 3. Like we closed the place down.
That's right, we did.
Yeah. Like the barista had to come over and be like, we're closing in 10 minutes. You have to go home.
It was a really long time, but it didn't feel like a long time.
No, it didn't. I remember thinking like, oh gosh, like this literally has been 3 hours. And I do remember calling my sister on the way home and telling her that I really liked you and I definitely wanted to see you again. And yeah.
I remember when you first turned the corner and I first saw you, and I was like, oh man, she's really pretty.
Oh. I had just gotten highlights the week before.
Had you?
I did.
I was gonna say it was really blonde.
It was. I think I want to go back to being really blonde. Side note.
Do it. Yeah, so, and I thought it went really well. I think I called Dan or Mom or somebody and told them it went really well because they were really curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had never done anything like that. That was the first time that I ever went on a date with somebody who I had no real connection is not the right word, but I didn't know through somebody.
Yeah. I wasn't like a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't someone you met at like a bar. I was.
Yeah, because at that point I had moved out of the city. I was living in
Yeah.
in the apartment with my brother,
With your
I think.
brother, yeah. You were. Yeah. And yeah. So obviously I had other dates from Match, but
What was
you
your
were the
worst
best.
one?
Oh gosh. It immediately comes to mind, but I had gone to dinner with someone and it just felt very forced.
Mhm.
And
On both ends?
I am fairly confident it was just on my end, and I felt a little uncomfortable the whole time. And then after dinner, I was like, okay, dinner's done. I got to get out of here. Like, I'm not feeling it. And he asked me to go on a walk along the canal. And I was like, I got awkward and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, how bad could it be? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So we ended up sitting on like a park bench and he put his arm around my shoulders so tight and like pulled me to him. And I was like, this is super awkward. Like, I don't know him like that. And this is like,
This is the first date?
this is the first date. Like, we've literally been like on a 45-minute dinner maybe. And like, I wasn't feeling it. He was not reading the signals. And like his arm, I'm like thinking about it now and like cringing because his arm was so tight around my shoulders. And I made eye contact with the girl on the canal. And I feel like we never said anything, but I feel like she like gave me a sympathetic look, and I was like, "Help me." um, and then I was like, "Oh, I have to get home," and he walked me to my car and like aggressively tried to kiss me, and I was like, "I have to go, bye," and like got in my car and drove away and never messaged him back. Like it was way too aggressive for me, and I hadn't felt like a connection or anything prior to that.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So there was no reason to have for me to have asked that, but I just was out of my own
Curiosity.
because we've actually never talked about that before.
Yeah, I guess we haven't.
No, I mean it's just a small part of everything that
like we talked about that, like I had been on Match like longer and how I would go through spurts of like being super into it and not into it. But you're right, we had never talked about like my worst Match date.
No, or your other best one, but
none. I told you I was very picky. Like, and when I say I made it to like 3 dates once, like with one other person, I made it to 3 dates.
I feel very
lucky. And I think it was maybe only 2.
No reason to be embarrassed. No. I think you won.
Our second date was maybe only... We had made it on the first date. We went out to dinner to...
Yeah, because I panicked. So the way the first date ended, I panicked, and so I'm an overthinker. And at this point, like Becky said, we had exchanged numbers at the end of this date. And so we exchanged numbers, and I think I had said something like, I think we should, do this again, and, all those awkward things. They got really awkward, at least for me. And I was like, shoot. Okay, so if I don't set this up now, my background is in sales. And
he's got to close the deal.
Yeah, it's just it's a very interesting, and I'll be the first to say I was never great at sales, but I know enough of the thought. I'm not going to say tactics because it's not a tactic, but the thought processes behind it. And if we had left there and hadn't set up our second date, then it just would have been that much harder to set it up. So, it would give you the opportunity of being like, not message me back, or it was a really good way.
He didn't want me to ghost him again.
Pretty much. But it gave me a good opportunity also to figure out where I stood. So if I was able to set up a second date at that point in time, then I knew that whatever my brain was thinking, how it went, it would confirm it or...
That's a good tactic, because I will say if you were that creep guy that I just talked to you about, I probably would have, like, and you were like, hey, let's set it up now. I would have been like, well, just text me. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But obviously with you, I was like, yes, let's set this up. And I think it was for like 3 or 4 days later.
It was
because you did have family in town.
I had family in town. And this was, I'm only going to go into 3. So a first date, second, and third, because everything else is just, it is what it is. The second date, I always get these two confused. Was it dinner? Second date?
It was dinner. Yep.
So dinner. So we set up dinner. We had talked about it. Out of all the things we talked about in the 3 hours, we had talked about a restaurant, I think it was, because I think we were talking about their buffalo cauliflower bites.
Yeah.
And you had said that you don't like cauliflower, I think, and I was like, well, this will change your mind about cauliflower, and it did.
It did.
It did. Spoiler alert. So we had set that up, and I'd figured out that we were on a good page. But you're right. It was a couple days later because of my schedule and family.
And we met there, right? I
We
think we did. We met there.
We met there. I want to say I met you in there. Because
I think we did because it was weird street parking.
Yes,
so
it was in the city. It was street
like,
parking.
Meet in the parking lot. Like we just
you
and
had
I
to
think
meet
because
in there.
of schedules, like we just had to meet. Like it was easier to meet there and walk inside. And
I don't remember specifically what day it was, but I think you had come close to work. Maybe no, that doesn't sound right.
Well, weren't you on vacation? You were like staying at the beach or at the lake with your family.
Was I that date?
Yeah, because not that long later we went on our third date.
But our third date, I was definitely.
Regardless, for some reason, we drove separately, which, we only met each other once, so not that big of a deal.
No, I think it was the logistics of it. We just drove separate. But our second date was dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dinner at this really nice restaurant.
I was skeptical of this restaurant.
So it's the restaurant was like called the Owl House.
Yeah.
And it's in an old house in the city. But
the food is geared more towards like vegan food.
It's borderline vegetarian options, but they have steak, they've got fish.
They do.
They've got really good desserts. Some of them they make, some of them that they bring in from a bakery.
But as someone who has never,
it's a little adventurous.
Yeah, and I am I'm not that I don't try things. I'll definitely try things, but I've never prior to this had never tried a lot of vegan food or.
You're an Applebee's ribs girl.
Gosh, I wish we had Applebee's ribs.
They're actually pretty
so
good. I really like them too.
I'm a little beyond Applebee's ribs. We just have recently found those to be very delicious.
Yes, we are for the
my
taste
palate is further than that.
Yeah.
but I was going into it. I was really nervous because I was like, "Is this going to be the weirdest dinner I've ever had?"
Yeah, you're more Trotta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that anybody listening to this probably knows where these places are. So we met in the front foyer of the place. We had a really good dinner.
We had the buffalo cauliflower bites, and they were really good. I normally don't like the texture of cauliflower.
And I actually remember we actually sat at the top of the stairs on the upper floor right by, because everybody was walking by us.
Yeah.
And we had this little table where it was one of those ones where it was two people just sitting across from each other.
Because the place isn't huge, so it was mostly
no, it's a converted house.
2-seater tables.
Yeah, and a couple 4. But overall, it went really well. I don't remember the specifics of it until the end.
Yeah.
So the only thing that was really big on this date is that I walked you back to your car.
Yep.
I think you actually parked behind me. Or you parked really close to me.
Yeah.
One, if not behind me, like a car behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I walked you to your car. And you parked right behind me, unknowingly. And at this point, I had my Impreza.
Yeah.
And this is how I remember it. You tell me how you remember it. I remember us standing there, awkwardly talking. Were we in a car?
So remember, I think you had planned dinner at Owl House and dessert at this other place.
Oh, you're right.
So we got into Dave's car after dinner,
right?
And we went to this dessert place, which is supposed they just do the desserts, I think.
They do,
and it
desserts and coffee.
Yeah, and so we were gonna go there for desserts and coffee, and it was closed. And I could tell you were because we drove up and you were gutted that it was closed because you were like, we're gonna have this awesome dinner and then go have desserts and coffee at this cute little place and it's going to be awesome. And you were like,
it was another house converted into a chocolatier, coffee, nightcap kind of place.
But you were definitely
I forgot that part of it.
You were so sad that it was
went
closed.
there. We went there at one point, didn't we?
I think so. Yeah, we've been there since.
Thanks for listening to the snippet of this episode. Full episodes can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. As always, we love feedback. throw it in the comments or write to us at spillproofpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.